I'm 62 years old, and I'm recording this from a room smaller than the bathroom I used to share with my wife in Columbus. My wife of 40 years. Her name was Mary, and I left her. I packed up our shared retirement, told her I was done, and flew to the Philippines for a 26-year-old woman I met on the internet. I thought I was making the greatest decision of my life. I thought I had finally found what I was missing. I lost $350,000. I lost my dignity, and I lost the only woman who ever truly loved me. Here is the part nobody wants to hear. Joy didn't steal from me. I handed it to her. All of it. Because I was a fool who confused loneliness with wisdom. If you're sitting there right now, 60 years old, thinking about leaving your American life behind for something younger and warmer overseas, I need you to stay on this channel. Not for entertainment, for survival. Hit subscribe right now if you want to protect your retirement. Avoid the traps I fell into, and make sure you don't end up eating instant noodles alone at 62, wondering what the hell you were thinking. Stay with me. You want to know what 40 years looks like from the inside? It looks like two people passing each other in a hallway. It looks like separate TV shows, separate dinner schedules, and conversations that stop at the weather. Mary and I built something real together. I see that now. We raised 2 kids in a 3-bedroom house in Columbus, Ohio. I worked logistics for 31 years. She taught elementary school. We weren't miserable, not exactly. But somewhere around my late 50s, I started feeling like a piece of furniture. Something people walk past without noticing. I told myself I deserved more. That was the first lie I told myself. I found the Philippines the way a lot of men my age find it. Online expat forums. Guys talking about the weather, the food, the cost of living. I told myself I was interested in the retirement angle, the peso exchange rate, the fact that English is everywhere and a man my age could actually afford to live well. Then I saw Joy's profile. 26 years old, long dark hair, a smile that looked like it was made specifically for me. Her first message was, "Good morning, sir, how is your day?" Nobody had asked me that in 15 years. We talked every day for 6 months. She called me kind. She called me wise. She sent photos of herself at church, at family gatherings, with younger siblings crowded around her. She cried on video call when she told me about her father's illness. She never asked me for money. Not directly, not yet. She just made me feel like the most important man in the world. And I, a 61-year-old logistics supervisor from Columbus, believed every second of it. I went home one Tuesday evening, sat across from Mary at the kitchen table, and told her I was leaving. I watched her face go through 10 different emotions in about 4 seconds. She asked me if there was someone else. I said no, not exactly. That was the second lie. The truth was, I had already bought my plane ticket. I had already started moving money into a separate account. I had already convinced myself that what I had with Joy was real, and what I had with Mary was just history. The divorce cost me 2 years of lawyers, and the cleanest split of 31 years of savings you've ever seen. Mary got her half. I got my half. $350,000. I landed in Manila in June with a carry-on bag, a phone full of Joy's messages, and the absolute certainty that my real life was finally beginning. The heat hit me the second I walked out of NAIA Terminal 3. It was 34 degrees Celsius, 93 Fahrenheit, thick with exhaust fumes and the smell of street food and rain. Everything was loud and fast and nothing like Ohio. And I stood there, sweating through my shirt, and I felt completely alive for the first time in years. Joy was waiting for me with a small bouquet of flowers. She was smaller than I expected, more beautiful. She called me my love in front of strangers and held my arm with both hands the way you hold something precious. She took me to a clean apartment she had arranged in Makati and cooked me rice and adobo chicken and sat across from me with those eyes and said she had been waiting her whole life for someone like me. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. What I did not know, what I could not have seen from a laptop screen in Columbus, was that Joy had been running this exact same script on at least two other men before me. The flowers were probably left over from the last one. The smile was real. The rest of it was a business plan, and I was the new investor. The emergency started in the third month, and I want to explain something about how these things work, because when you read it laid out like this, it sounds obvious. It sounds like something only an idiot would fall for. But you have to understand the context. You are 60 years old in a foreign country. You are deeply in love, or what you believe is love. You are surrounded by warmth and beauty and a woman who treats you with more tenderness than you have experienced in decades. And then one morning she comes to you with red eyes, holding her phone, and she tells you her mother is in the hospital in Iloilo. The bill is 45,000 pesos. That is about $800. You make that decision in about 4 seconds. The first emergency was the mother's hospital bill. The second was the roof of the family home in the province. She sent me photos of the damage from a typhoon, a tarpaulin draped over broken rafters. 40,000 pesos, $700. Fine. The third was her younger brother's tuition. He was studying nursing, she said. The tuition was due. The school would drop him if it was not paid immediately. 60,000 pesos, $1,100. I sent it. I told myself these were investments in the family I was building. By month 6, I had moved out of the Makati apartment and into a smaller place in Quezon City to save money. Joy was still there every evening, still cooking, still saying the right things. But something had shifted slightly, like a painting that has been moved 1 inch to the left. She started spending more time on her phone. She started talking about the future in concrete terms, not us together terms, house terms. She wanted us to build a home in her province, in Batangas. She had the land already picked out, her family's land, she said. We could build something beautiful there, a real retirement home. We could grow old there together. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking a foreigner cannot own land in the Philippines. And you are right. I knew that too. I had read it in the forums. Joy had an explanation for everything. It would be in her name legally, yes, but morally it was our home, our investment. She asked me quietly, "Do you not trust me?" And I looked at her face and I thought about Mary sitting alone in Columbus, going through a divorce I had forced on her. And I thought about how I had burned everything to be here. And the idea that this was also a lie was not something I could survive. So I said yes, I trusted her. The house cost $60,000, a concrete house with a porch, a garden, ceiling fans in every room. I watched it being built over 4 months on video calls, because Joy insisted I stay in Manila during construction. The province is too hot, she said, too many bugs. She would supervise everything. She sent photos daily, the foundation, the walls going up, the tiled roof, the painted rooms. I had a framed photo of the two of us standing in front of it on the one day I visited. We looked like a couple on vacation. What the photos did not show was that Joy's name was on every legal document. The title, the deed, the building permits, everything. And what I did not find out until much later was that the contractor was not a cousin. He was Joy's real boyfriend, the man she had been with before I arrived and throughout every single one of those emergencies. The house I paid for was the house they were planning to live in together. I was just the financing. The realization did not come all at once. It came the way a slow leak destroys a foundation. Small things you push aside. A name in a text message that she explained away too quickly. A WhatsApp notification that she tilted the phone to hide. An evening she came home 3 hours late with an excuse that had too many details in it. I have worked in logistics for 31 years. I know when a story has been overpacked, something was wrong. I started quietly learning a little Tagalog, nothing dramatic, a few words and phrases here and there, just enough to understand the texture of a conversation without letting on. 3 months later, I was sitting in the kitchen when she took a call in the other room. She spoke quickly, she laughed low, and then she used a phrase I understood just enough to know I needed to hear more. She said, "Pera niya," his money, not our money, his money. I gave it another 2 weeks. I needed to be certain before I acted, because if I was wrong, I had burned my marriage, lost my savings, and moved halfway across the world for this. I had to be certain. So I told Joy I had gotten a message from my accountant in the States. There was a problem with my pension transfer. I might be locked out of my accounts for several months. I said it calmly, over dinner, watching her face. And the face that looked back at me was not the face of a woman worried about her partner. It was the face of someone running a calculation. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked very gently how long until the problem would be fixed. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What does this mean for us?" How long until the money comes back? 2 weeks later, she told me she needed to go to the province to visit her mother. She was gone for 5 days. When she came back, she was different in a way I cannot fully describe. Lighter somehow, more confident, less careful. She stopped cooking. She started leaving her phone face up on the table, but she had changed the language settings to Cebuano. She started making phone calls she no longer bothered to take to the other room. I went to see a lawyer in Manila, an English-speaking attorney who worked specifically with foreign nationals. He told me what I already knew in my gut. The house was in her name. Legally, entirely, completely in her name. I had no claim to it. Not one piece of paper connected me to that property. The $60,000 I had poured into that concrete and tile, and the porch with the ceiling fan, and the little garden she said she would plant with sampaguita flowers, all of it belonged to Joy. He told me I could try to file a civil case, but that these things took years and the outcome was uncertain, and I should weigh that against the cost of the fight. I drove back to my room in Manila in a tricycle, wedged between a man carrying a live chicken and a woman with 3 children on her lap, and I thought about Mary. I thought about the Tuesday night at the kitchen table. I thought about the look on her face, and for the first time since I had landed in this country, I felt exactly what I had done. Not the money, not the house, what I had done to Mary, to 31 years, to the life we had actually built together, which was imperfect and quiet and boring and real. I sat in that tricycle in Manila traffic, and I cried in front of a stranger and a chicken. And that is a sentence I never imagined writing about my life. So here is where I am now. I am 62 years old. I have approximately $1,100 a month from Social Security. My room costs $300 a month, which is more than I would like, but less than I can find closer to the places I need to be for internet access and the American consulate. I eat simple food. I do not drink anymore, not because I am virtuous, but because I cannot afford it. My 2 adult kids in Ohio have been kind about it. My daughter calls once a week. My son emails. Mary has not spoken to me since the divorce was finalized. I do not blame her. I do not deserve to hear her voice. I could spend the rest of this video being angry at Joy. It is easier to be angry at a 26-year-old Filipina than to sit with the truth, which is that I chose this, every single step of it. The divorce I forced on a faithful woman. The retirement I moved overseas. The house I put in a name that was not mine. The emergencies I paid without questioning. I chose all of it because I needed to believe something extraordinary was happening to me, that I had discovered something other men had missed. Joy saw something in me that my American life had failed to see. She did not. She saw my bank balance and she worked backward from there. Now I need to talk to you directly. If you were a man my age, late 50s, 60s, watching this from a suburban house in America, feeling invisible and done with your current life, I am not here to tell you that happiness does not exist overseas. It might, but I need you to hear the specific ways that men like us get targeted. First, the timeline. If a Filipina woman you have been talking to online is professing deep love within the first 60 to 90 days and has never asked you for money directly and makes you feel like a king every single conversation, you are being prepared. That is not courtship. That is groundwork. Second, the house. Never, under any circumstances, put real money into a property you cannot legally own. I do not care how much you trust her. I do not care how many years you have been together. The Philippines does not allow foreigners to own land. That is the law. If she is pushing you toward building or buying, walk away. What she is building is her own future asset with your cash. Third, the emergencies. They will come in a sequence, and they will always be just small enough to feel reasonable. $800 for a hospital bill, $700 for a roof, $1,100 for tuition. None of it will feel like a scam in the moment because it is not presented as one. It is presented as family, as love, as partnership. But add it up every single time. Keep a ledger. And fourth, and this is the one that costs me the most to say, if you have someone at home who loves you, someone real, someone who has been there through 30 years of actual life, do not let a digital fantasy corrode that. I am not saying your home life is perfect. I am saying that what I traded mine for was not love. It was a business transaction dressed up as a fairy tale. And I was the only one who did not know that. I am 62, I am broke, and I am carrying the weight of a decision I made out of pride and loneliness. Don't make my mistake. If this video saved you from one bad choice, then it mattered. Keep watching this channel because I have more to tell you, and all of it is real.